The wealthy millionaire's son, unable to walk, finds joy when the black trash collector dances with him. What if a moment of joy could challenge everything you know about privilege and prejudice? The wealthy millionaire's son, who uses a wheelchair and is trapped in the golden cage of his father's wealth, lives a life of isolation and despair. But when he notices the trash collector outside his mansion dancing as he works, a simple act of kindness begins to change his life forever. What happens when a person's society overlooks the most incredible gift, freedom from the chains of expectation? Prepare for a story that will break your heart and heal it all in one. Daniel, a young boy born with a disability, spends most of his days inside the grand mansion of his millionaire father. Despite the opulent lifestyle, Daniel has never felt the warmth of connection or the freedom to explore the world outside. His life is a world of high walls and high expectations. His father, a wealthy and busy businessman, often sees Daniel's disability as a burden, not understanding his son's emotional isolation. While Daniel sits by his window, staring out at the world he cannot participate in, he notices something strange. Every morning, as the sun rises, a black man named James, a trash collector, passes by the mansion. James doesn't just collect garbage. He hums, whistles, and even dances as he works. His carefree movement and joy amidst hard labor capture Daniel's attention. For the first time, Daniel feels something stir inside him, a curiosity, a longing for a kind of freedom he's never experienced. James, who works tirelessly in the heat, doesn't know that his small acts of joy are about to become a lifeline for a boy trapped by his circumstances. But in the midst of this newfound curiosity, Daniel's father warns him to avoid the lower-class workers. His views on class and race shape his perception of James, a man who seems beneath him. Still, Daniel can't ignore the connection he feels with James, even from his privileged position inside the mansion. Days pass, and Daniel becomes more and more fascinated by James. He begins to watch him more closely, noticing how James's mood never seems to wane despite his harsh job. There's something about the way James moves, his carefree demeanor, that intrigues Daniel. One day, while his father is out of the house, Daniel asks his nurse for permission to go outside for a brief walk. With hesitation, the nurse agrees, but warns him not to stray too far. As Daniel wheels himself outside, he catches sight of James, who is once again dancing while collecting trash. This time, the rhythm of the dance seems infectious, and without thinking, Daniel calls out to him. "Hey, what are you doing?" he asks. James stops in his tracks, surprised but smiles warmly. They talk for the first time. James shares bits of his life, how he finds joy in his work, and how dancing helps him cope with the daily struggles he faces. He tells Daniel that everyone has the right to be happy, regardless of their circumstances. That joy isn't a luxury for the privileged, but a necessity for survival. Daniel, who has always felt trapped in his wheelchair, feels his heart swell with emotion. He wants to experience the joy and freedom that James talks about. So Daniel asks, "Can I join you?" James, surprised but amused, extends a hand and helps him out of his wheelchair. In that moment, something inside Daniel shifts. For the first time, he stands. His legs shaky, but he stands. James teaches him a simple step, and they begin to move together. The physical sensation of moving, of feeling the rhythm in his body, is unlike anything Daniel has experienced. He forgets about his disability. He forgets about his wealth. For a brief moment, he is simply a boy dancing with a man who sees him as a human, not a privileged figure to be pitied or controlled. Just as Daniel begins to lose himself in the music, his father pulls up in the driveway. His face hardens when he sees his son standing with the black trash collector. The scene is too much for him to handle. His son, the heir to a family fortune, is dancing in the street with someone he sees as inferior. His pride, his carefully constructed world of class and race, is shattered. "Daniel!" his father yells, storming out of the car. "What are you doing? Get inside right now!" The harshness in his voice cuts through the music, and for a moment, Daniel is frozen in place. The father's words are not just a command, they are a reflection of his world. A world that has taught him to see people like James as less than human. But Daniel, for the first time, refuses to obey. He looks his father in the eye and says, "No, I'm not going back in." The moment is tense, a battle of wills. Daniel's father demands that he return to the house and act like a proper millionaire's son. He can't fathom why his son would want to associate with someone like James. He even calls him names, denigrating his dignity and his worth, trying to reassert his power over his son's life. But Daniel stands firm. He looks at James, his new friend, and chooses to continue dancing. In that brief act of defiance, Daniel shows his father that he's no longer the boy who hides behind the walls of wealth and privilege. In the aftermath of this confrontation, Daniel's life undergoes a significant change. His father, although angry and disillusioned, slowly begins to understand that his son is no longer willing to live by the rules of class and race that he's always believed in. He sees his son's newfound freedom, the freedom to choose joy over privilege, connection over isolation. Daniel doesn't go back to his old life. He begins spending more time with James, learning from him, seeing the world through his eyes. The EOS mansion, once a prison, becomes a symbol of everything he no longer wants to be. Daniel's transformation isn't easy. His father tries to pull him back into the world of wealth, trying to convince him that his actions were a phase. But Daniel, with James's help, sees through the lies of privilege and the systemic oppression that has kept them both in separate worlds. The story ends with Daniel walking away from the mansion, from his father's expectations, and into the community. With James, the wealth and status no longer define him. He is free, no longer bound by the chains of racial and class divisions. As he walks away, the narrator leaves the audience with a powerful question. What if we all dared to dance to our own rhythm, to see the world beyond wealth and race? Would we finally be free?